All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. Dark Side Phil here. I'm back. I'm back for my trip to Connecticut, which was about a week. I actually left 1 week ago today. And at this point, actually, I was already on the flight to Connecticut. At this point, 1 week ago today. The week was crazy. The week was full of activity. The week was very fast. The week obviously had some surprises in store for people. And basically, what I think, you guys are owed is a full-on kind of explanation, a full-on kind of deal when it comes to talking about this trip, what it meant to me and Kat, what it meant to my parents, how it went down, how it was planned, how things happened. Because the thing is, guys, as you know, this trip originally started off as it was going to be a trip just to visit my parents. And, Kat, who I had been with for 2 years, wanted to meet them. My parents are getting older and are not in good health. And it was a trip basically for her to meet them and for us to all spend time together before my parents basically got to the point where their health was a big issue. And I'm going out there instead of to spend time with them to basically say goodbye to them. You know what I mean? As you all know, I'm not in a very good situation financially at all. I'm just not. I'm in a really bad situation where I'm overextended. I don't have money for things like, I can fly across the country and visit my parents whenever I want. I can't. I barely have enough money to pay my bills on a monthly basis a lot of times. And, recently, as you guys know, I've needed some support in regards to taxes and running 2 special events and all of that. I mean, the thing you guys see behind me, which I haven't even had a chance to take down, is my birthday/marathon decorations for the second marathon event that I held right before my trip, where I was raising funds to pay my taxes. Which, by the way, is 100% transparent true. I'm going to explain all of this in this podcast right now, so you're going to have all of your answers, okay? So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But you guys know, in a unique way, things about my behind-the-scenes situation financially and the like. And so this trip was something that was out of the ordinary, because how the hell is Phil traveling across the country to visit his parents when we know this guy has no money and we need to help him out with taxes and stuff, right? And so every piece of the way, I was trying to be transparent with all of you about this trip, how it was going down and everything. But behind the scenes of all of that happening, there was something else going on in planning for a marriage between myself and Kat. And this was the big shocking surprise that happened during this week that people did not expect whatsoever. And didn't see coming. A lot of people were like, whoa. In fact, people outright had kind of alluded to or asked me, sometimes just outright asked me on the streams the last week or so before I went to Connecticut, are you going to get married when you're in Connecticut? And I, on the fly, had to just literally make shit up to try to find a way to try to justify that we're not, so people wouldn't suspect it, okay? So the big shocker here is that I knew going to Connecticut would already be a week away from streaming, and people would want to know when I came back what I did and everything, and that's why I was setting up this podcast. But in reality, in the back of my head, I knew I was getting married to Kat while I was there, and that when we finally announced that publicly, people were going to explode. Oh my God, we never expected it. And the thing is, there's 2 different sides of thinking here, okay? One side is, we're so happy for Phil and Kat. This is great. They've been together for about 2 years, but she moved in over a year ago behind the scenes. Phil always tells us things behind the scenes are great, but doesn't really give much info because he doesn't want that to be spoiled by the trolls and everything. So it's just great that that's so good that he got to a point now where they're married. This is amazing. It's a great positive thing. The other school of thought is immediately the complete opposite. Wow, Phil's a scammer. He's a piece of underhanded shit. He's been lying to his viewers and fans for so long, and basically saying that, he was raising money for taxes, but all that money obviously went to pay for this wedding that he didn't tell us about, and he scammed us, and no one would have ever contributed if he had said it was for a wedding instead of something important like taxes, and this is fucked up, and he's really screwed the pooch. And the thing is, this has been going on since Wednesday. My trip began a week ago today, Sunday. We were married on Wednesday. It was late Wednesday night. We posted up our wedding post on Instagram. That also went out on Twitter. And you've seen these 2 schools of thought. The one that's very supportive and positive, and one that's incredibly negative and just full of crazy ass conspiracy theories and just weirdo fringe shit. And as I said on the pre-stream, but I'll reiterate this as I start this podcast today, the reason I'm doing this is very much for those who are supportive or maybe for those who have some legitimate questions. This is not a show for those fringe assholes who are just so insane in the head that, number one, the first thing they thought to do when they see a wedding post is to slam it with slanderous insults. It's my wedding post. It's my one day of my life that I'm going to say I got married. It's a positive thing. You took it upon yourselves to come slam my fucking wedding post with some of the most disgusting, vile, toxic stuff I've ever seen. You're morally decrepit people. You don't have any maturity or any intelligent thought in your fucking heads if you did that. And the bottom line is I'm never going to win you over, and I don't care about you, and you can fuck off. So that's not what this show is for whatsoever. This is a show for those who are fans and supporters of mine, who wanted to know about the trip to begin with. All right. And now, of course, oh my God, Phil got married. That's amazing. I want to know what's the ins and outs. And fair enough to some who might have questions about what was the ceremony? How did it go down? How did you pay for it when you said financially you've been very bad off? And what happened to the taxes? What's the update on that? All of those questions will be answered. All of those questions will be answered on this show. That's the point of me doing this. And those are the people who I want to help and address. Because I feel that after 10 years of being a content creator on the internet, being able to do this for a living since 2011, I do owe some answers, okay? Do I have to tell you every piece of personal information whatsoever? Do I have to pull evidence and shit out of my ass and say, look at this document proving that we were married, and look at this receipt saying this is how much the tuxedo, it wasn't even a tuxedo, it was a 10-year-old suit, but you see what I'm saying, how much this cost and that cost? No, I don't owe that to anybody, all right? I don't, but at least I can sit here and give you some answers to some extent, okay? What I do want to say is that I'm going to basically take my time, and I'm going to be very honest, even though I know people will probably be contributing and stuff during the stream, after I do this initial grouping of shout-outs, I'm not going to interrupt myself with shout-outs and stuff. I'm just going to keep going. I am going to take a couple breaks. Basically, I'm going to do it in hour segments. I'll do an hour, take a break, do another hour, take a break, so that way I don't hurt my voice. It's going to kind of be like Ask the King almost, okay, my Q&A show. Then once I'm done explaining everything, okay, which is going to take a while, it's going to be day-by-day stuff about this trip and everything. It's going to take a long time to explain. When I'm done explaining all of it, then I'm probably going to open up this to Q&A to the stream chat to see what kind of questions and things people still have that I haven't answered any, and we'll go from there. I'm not promising this is going to be a 4+ hour podcast like a normal stream would start around now and go till 4 p.m. I don't know it's going to be that long. We'll see. We'll see as it progresses how far we get and everything. Okay. Also, just being very honest and upfront with all of you. No, I'm not going to reveal personal info again about Kat and her family and shit like that. Like, people always constantly try to pry into our personal life. No, I can't do that. It's safety concerns and reason. I can't go crazy amount into detail about who was in attendance at the wedding, what's their name and address and shit. I can't do it. Okay. But I'll be as specific as I can be without revealing things that would put people at risk. And I will tell you as much as I can to the extent that I can. Because the truth of the matter is, even if I showed you, like, for example, oh, here's a receipt of what something cost, it wouldn't matter. Phil made that up. That's what I mean. Those people who want that insane amount of evidence, they'll just say I made it up anyway. So what's the point? You're absolutely right. Right now, I have an email in my inbox from my tax guy saying, here's what you need to pay to qualify for the tax plan. It literally says this. Here it is. And then here's the process. If I showed you guys the email on stream, you could say, well, Phil typed that. You're right. I have no way to prove that I didn't type that. So what's the fucking point? What's the point of showing any of it? I'll just tell you what I can tell you and go from there. And there's going to be people who believe me. And there's going to be people who don't. All right. I still think it's kind of funny. I got birthday decorations behind me when my birthday was over a week ago. Also, before we get to it, Chestnut's right here. Chestnut's not here because I had him up here. He kept falling during the pre-stream. I said, I'll put him over here. He's on the arm of my love seat. So he's here. All right. Don't freak out. Say, where is Chestnut? Did Phil get rid of him? No. He's right there. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's do a couple quick shout outs and then we're going to get started. Okay. Let's see here. Hey, Phil, tip the dollars. It breaks my heart you spent your honeymoon eating burgers at the zoo. Really depressing. I did not eat a single burger when I was in Connecticut. Don't know what the hell you're talking about. Going to the zoo was very fun, and one of the many things that Kat and I did in Connecticut, which we'll talk about. But you're right, was there a formal honeymoon? No, there wasn't. We'll talk about that too. I'm going to answer. It's part of the story, okay? King of Golf, cheer. Says the ring looks dope. For a 37-year-old who's married, you look young and healthy. Thanks. Thanks, I guess. There's the ring. Very basic. I got the most basic ring I think I could get. Hank, hold on. CM Fool to me $2.50 says, when are you going to stop playing baby online games like Sekiro and Donkey Kong and play real manly games like Pokemon? Later this year when the new Pokemon's released. There's your answer. Hank Duma tipped me $100. Wow, thank you very much, Hank. Listen, guys, just to say, I'm incredibly grateful for any contributions today, guys. I'm not expecting anything. I said this on the pre-stream, and I will actually say this in this video as well. Contributions are much appreciated and incredibly helpful, but they're not expected. So thank you very much to anyone who contributes today. Hank tipped me $100. Says, congrats to you and Kat on your wedding. Very wise to keep it a secret so you have this very important day without any unwanted disturbances. Wishing you and your wife all the best for the future. Exactly right, Hank. Thank you very much. You get it. You get it, dude. All right, let's get Hank up there as the top tipper for the day. Thank you. Also, Orcs or Dorks resubscribed for 21 months. Thank you, Orcs or Dorks, for the resub. King of Golf cheered again. He says, Chestnut, we love you. How did he hold down the fort? He looks beastly. He did. He defended the house. I mean, we did have one of Kat's friends was coming by and checking on the house daily. We actually had threats. I actually had several direct threats via email and also social media, other things of people saying they were going to come burn down my house and shit. But my neighbors here were aware that I was going to be away. We had someone come and check in on the house every day, and we have security. We have a security system. There's cameras. Like, it's really stupid that anyone thought that anything was going to happen. Nothing did. Thank God. Okay. The last Rambo did a 50-bit cheer. He says, why not try the sing function in Twitch? Because I'm not a singer and I'm not going to be doing it. Ren Jesse James, wow, tip me $50. Thank you, Ren Jesse James. Wow, another very generous tip. He says, I'm really salty you didn't invite me, a random internet stranger, to your ceremony. However, congrats. I finally got a job. Here's a little wedding present. May all the detractors and haters develop horrible, nightmarish. I'm not reading that. That's messed up. I don't want that. I don't want anyone hurt, so I'm not going to read that. Thank you for the contribution now. By the way, there actually were a couple people who contacted me, who I am still in contact with, friends and stuff. I didn't even tell them. I'm not even kidding. This whole thing was 100% like a clandestine operation to be sure that nothing could be spoiled. So there were friends of mine who were like, man, I wish I at least knew. I couldn't have come to Connecticut to your wedding, but I at least wish I would have known about it so I could have at least maybe done something for you. And I'm like, don't worry about it. But thanks for the congrats. Omnipotent, Mr. Dr. Profusi cheers, says, did you have a crazy bachelor party with your dad and friends? We'll talk about that. And the answer is no. That's stupid. Dink is Steve subscribed. Thank you, Dink is Steve. I received an anonymous $20 tip. Thank you to the anonymous $20 tipper. That's much appreciated. Cam, not the comedy man, did a 50-bit cheers. Did you get a tax break thanks to the marriage? I know that's a thing in the U.S., Puerto Rico. No. The marriage, it doesn't count. That would have been a year later. Like next year, I got to talk to my tax guy about how it changes the taxes being married. That doesn't affect anything for this year. And Guitar Player, dude, a 245-bit cheer. Thank you very much, Guitar Player. All right, so from now on, cutting this off. No more shout-outs for contributions as of now. Rest assured, if you do contribute during today's streams, I'm going to give you shout-outs, but I have to get to the point of this podcast and explain the whole story. Fair enough? All right, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the very best place to start this, the beginning. All right? I moved out here to the state of Washington from the state of Connecticut, where I had lived for the rest of my life previously, in 2014. And my parents miss me a lot. A damn lot. I know that, I was seeing them once a week when I lived in Connecticut. We would get together and go have a dinner together, and I would catch up with them and tell them about everything that happened in my week. They were well aware of all the stuff that happened in my life with YouTube and all that stuff. They always knew because I kept them in the loop on all that stuff, okay? The ups and downs, the years when I was making tons of money, the years when I wasn't making tons of money. And I would help them out and stuff with money and stuff over the years when they needed the help and stuff because they needed help every once in a while. And that's what family's for, to be there for each other, right? And when I moved out here, they visited me twice. They came out once in the Christmas of 2014, which is funny because I just moved in June. They were out here at Christmas. And then they came out in the summer, I think it was June of 2016. And both times it was very nice. They spent time with me for about a week roughly. And, a lot of the times, my mom, being very honest, health issues, she has a lot of problems with her back and her knees. She can't move around that much. It would have been nice if when they came out here, I could have taken them into Seattle and shown them the Pike Place Market and the Space Needle and all that stuff. But they're not really even in a position where they're, like, my mom's not mobile enough to be able to do that. So most of the time that they spent when they visited me was just kind of hanging around the house and going out to dinners and stuff. And that was really it, okay? It was nice because I remember my mom would make her famous homemade Italian lasagna, which I absolutely love. And by the way, I was upset because during this visit to Connecticut, she didn't make it. But anyway, it was pretty awesome, the 2 visits, all right? Now, my parents, their plan was that they wanted to visit maybe once a year, once every other year. They wanted to keep visiting me out here. However, sadly, and I haven't really publicly talked about this at all that much, things are not going so well with my parents, and it's not like job-wise or financially, it's health-wise. They're getting old, they're both in their 60s, and my mom's health has declined for multiple reasons. I'll tell you. Number one, as I told you, her knees and her back. She already had back surgery, fusion in her back. There's a metal plate in her back. So it's hard for her to even get around. She walks with a cane. She walks hunched over, okay? In addition to all of that, she's a smoker. She's been a smoker her whole life, and now it's caught up with her. Does she have, like, life-ending cancer? No, but she's fucked up inside because she smoked her whole life, and basically the way the doctors are explaining it is you could live a while still. It could be tomorrow. We don't know. It depends, because when you get older and you have issues like that, oh my God, you've been smoking your whole life, things could fall apart overnight. You don't know. And so, quite frankly, with her health, we don't know what's going to happen. She could be around for a long time or she could not, all right? But the thing was, even with those issues, my mom was still able to come out here because she had my dad to help her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of the really messed up thing right now, is that my dad now, his health has monstrously declined in the past couple of years. He was always healthy. When he was younger, he was a bodybuilder. He had many physical manual labor jobs in his life, moving freight cargo and doing these kind of things. And he's tried, as he got older, he tried to stay physically active and physically fit, but he ended up kind of getting a little bit overweight. And basically what happened is 2 shitty things have happened to him in the last few years. First of all, and this was about, I'd say probably late 2016, early 2017, his back got fucked up like mine. Now, for those who don't know, because my back has not been an issue for years, I used to have an incredibly bad back injury. It was a severely herniated disc in my lower back. I believe it was between the I think it was L3 and L4, or L4, L5 vertebrae. I can't even remember. Basically, it's the vertebrae that controls things such as your ability to use the bathroom. Yeah, not good. Not good that if I tweak my back the wrong way, I could piss my pants, right? I was bad off, all right? Now, in my injury experience was that I had shooting pain at random points down my legs. I had numbness in my legs, and my muscles in my lower back and all the way through my legs were incredibly tense. Okay, incredibly tense. To the point where I was in pain. I was sitting here playing games for YouTube, wincing at pain and stuff a lot of the time. I just never let it come through in my videos, how bad off I was. I had this back stretcher thing that I was using to try to relieve pressure on my back. But the truth of the matter is, once I moved out here to Washington State, I made life changes that basically made it so that I wasn't stressing my back out anymore. Now I have a garage so that when I go grocery shopping, I drive into the garage and I just walk my bags right into my kitchen. When I lived in Connecticut, I had to park in a fucking lot where my space was on the other end of the condo facility. I had to walk multiple trips with bags up icy fucking stairs and shit to get in. It was bad. Weather out here is much more moderate. It doesn't stress out my back or back muscles anymore. Basically, with the life changes I made, I don't have back issues anymore. The swelling in the disc went away. And even though the disc is damaged, it's always going to be damaged. Very rarely do I have issues with pain or whatever. Maybe on a day, if I'm out all day and I do some lifting of bags or things, you know what I mean, then maybe, or if I'm on my feet literally all day, then I get some pain and whatever. But for the most part, my back issues have cleared up. But as my back issues cleared up, my dad ended up getting tons of fucking back issues. Multiple discs in his back, all screwed up, severely herniated. Ended up going to multiple doctors for options, and they're basically like, you can do physical therapy, you can go on some drugs, you can get surgery. Of course, now there's a ton. When I had my injury 10 years ago, basically the only surgery was spinal fusion surgery, which is very risky. It's like 50-50. 50% chance it works and you feel better, 50% chance it does nothing and you feel worse. So I didn't do it. I just basically toughed it out. Now they've got 100 spinal surgeries with lasers that are non-intrusive and all this shit. So my dad kind of, weighing and balancing what he should do in regards to his injury. And he's had it for about 2 years now. And basically he's found ways to adjust his lifestyle to make it better. And what I mean by that is he now has a job that's really close to where he lives. He used to have jobs where he had to drive a long distance. Now he can walk to work. Okay? He's at work. They have desks where he could stand up all day rather than sitting down in an uncomfortable position and putting pressure on these discs. Just little things like that. Now, it sucks because, this happened and now he's lost weight and he looks gaunt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's in so much pain a lot of the time from his back that he's not the vibrant, active guy he used to be. And I don't blame him. I was the same fucking way. When I had this pain, whatever, it was just like constant pain. Every moment pain. Every moment you're in constant pain that you're conscious. And it kills you. It does. It mentally starts to drain you. And I can see it on my dad. You know what I mean? And it sucks because I've known him his whole life as the vibrant, active, strong guy who would come around to do the heavy lifting and do the things. And now he's not anymore. So because this happened with his back, my parents can't visit me anymore. I've lived here for 5 years, and it was the summer of 2016, almost 3 years ago, the last time I had seen my parents, and they can't come and visit because I can't fly across the country anymore. My back's too fucked up. I can't do it. And God forbid he tries to come across the country with my mother. My mother falls, and now he can't bend over to help her because he's all fucked up. You know what I mean? So this sucks. Okay. Sadly, that's not the end of the bad news about my parents. On top of all of that stuff going on, because of all the stress that my dad has been under in the last 2 years since his back's been fucked up, he now has terrible heart problems. Terrible heart problems. And I don't really want to go into detail about how bad they are, but there's been some pretty bad scares. To the point where my mom kind of pulled me aside during the visit, and she said, just so you know, I know I'm bad off, and with my lungs and everything, I'm in a situation, your dad is kind of in the same situation with his heart, where one day he might end up in the hospital, or, we don't know. He's on 100 medications, and he's trying to do, but there's days where he has issues with his heart, and it sucks. It really sucks, because these are issues that can't be helped. These are issues that it doesn't matter what my dad does. One day could be the last day. Same thing with my mom. One day could be, that's it. And so, knowing all this, for the last, not even exaggerating, the last year, my parents have been talking to me about, can I come visit them? And I keep telling the guy, how can I? I have to be here to work every day. I've got myself into such a horrible financial position in my life that I'm overextended. I literally can barely make minimum payments on all of my financial obligations a month. Some months I overdraft my bank account. I've maximized all my credit to the point where I don't even have enough credit on a credit card to buy plane tickets, let alone if I need to get a hotel room or a rental car or any of those things to be in Connecticut. I can't do it. I'm done. I'm at a point now in my life where financially I'm fucked, and something's got to give. Something's got to change or improve. Okay. So after basically my parents kind of sitting around and saying, it looks like Phil's position is just not improving, they basically said, well, we don't know what's going to happen with our health. We want you out here. And of course, now the added bonus of all this is that Kat, has moved in with me as of February 2018. She's been living with me. And having the conversations with Kat and having the conversations with my parents, I mean, my parents were well aware that I want to spend the rest of my life with Kat. How much of an incredibly positive change she's been in my life in so many fucking ways. And I could go through a laundry list of ways. But I don't think I really need to. I think you guys have seen it. I mean, if you guys watch my streams this year and last year compared to previously, like, you've seen a different Phil. You've seen a more positive Phil. You've seen how actively I just feel better on a daily basis. I've lost weight. You guys could see. It's funny because people say, you lost weight, Phil. How? Then I went and weighed myself. I was like, oh my God, I lost 10 pounds in the last year. I didn't even realize it. But I did. Like, everything is so much better. Being with Kat. And my parents know that. All right. And they were like, God, we want to meet her. We want to meet her. We want to spend time with her. She's basically our daughter, And, my whole life, and this is the truth of the matter, my whole life, my mom has pressured me to commit and get married. My whole fucking life. She's like, are you going to get married? Are you going to get married? That's just how she is. She's an old school traditional person. She grew up in a different generation where it was like, if you don't get married, something's wrong. Why didn't you get married? Right? And to see me, I'm in my late 30s now, and I wasn't married or whatever, and my mom's like, what's going on? And so, now that I'm with Kat, that's right. Italian moms. You're absolutely right. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing in Italian families to get married and have the family and all of that. So, late 30s and not married or whatever, so awesome that Kat, and I have been together and have such a great life together here. To the point where we were outside of any pressure from my mom or my parents, we were already having the conversation behind the scenes about, do we want to get engaged, right? We probably can't get married, but, do we want to get engaged? And we had serious talks about it for a while and said, yeah, we do. We love each other enough and we trust each other enough and we want to be together. And even if it means that we can't get married anytime soon, we want to get engaged. By the way, this all happened last year, long fucking time ago. All right, I'm not going to tell you the specifics of when or whatever, but basically all this discussion happened last year. Kat had been living with me for a while, and we were going together perfectly. Our lives were so much dramatically improved, and we had gotten settled in, and Kat had gotten settled in with a job and everything. Everything was going good for a while. And we said, let's get engaged. All right. Now, just so everyone knows, the story goes, it wasn't like, oh my God, we're getting engaged, so we have to have a big engagement party and we have to spend a ton of money or whatever. The whole thing kind of just happened. One day we were out. It was one of our days out. And we were, I believe, at the local mall. Yeah, it was the local mall. And for a little bit, we had been looking at engagement rings because we were curious. Gee, what are engagement rings? What do they cost or whatever? And the bottom line is engagement rings, depending on what you get, could be dirt cheap. I'm talking under $100 to life-changingly expensive, like tens of thousands of dollars. Now, I just wanted to say something. All right. If you have that kind of crazy-ass money to go nuts and go spend thousands of dollars on a ring, go ahead. And there's these ridiculously stupid fucking things I've heard. Oh, it's expected that when you get your engagement ring, the cost of the ring should be about 2 to 3 months' salary for the male. Fuck you. Who the fuck are you to make that kind of a crazy-ass thing? Oh, that's a rule. So yeah, I'm going to spend a quarter of my money this year on a fucking ring. A ring that could fall off the finger and go down a drain. A ring that the gem that cost thousands of dollars could pop out and roll into a gutter. Are you fucking stupid? You're the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. You're going to spend insane amounts of money on a fucking ring. A thing that's just, it's not even the love. It's a symbol, right? A representation. It's not your love that you have to drop that money on. It's just nuts to me, okay? Absolutely fucking nuts, okay? And by the way, Kat agrees with me. We're like, this is nuts that people will go crazy with this shit. So one day, last year, in the fall of last year, was the fall, okay? So this was way before I had any idea what was going to be going down with my taxes in 2019 or anything like that. It was nothing about that. It was last fall. We were at the mall, and we just walked into a department store, and we were looking at the rings. The biggest jewelry sale I've ever seen in my life. I think what happened was this department store is one of these chains of department stores in the U.S. that's starting to go out of business. And they must have like insane amounts of inventory that they need to liquidate. This was a sale, 80% off all engagement rings. So we're looking at these rings. And there's rings that are priced like $800 and they're selling them for like $90. We're like, whoa, shit. Like, that's fucking nuts. And that's really, honestly, why we got engaged when we did. Because we just stumbled upon this. And we're like, Holy shit. That's like, we'll get a nice ring that normally you would pay an insane amount of money for if we act now. And we talked about it, and we said, you know what? We're going to do it. Because we love each other. We want to be with each other for the rest of our lives. We know this. It sucks that financially I'm in the position I'm in and probably will never have a nice wedding. Or if we do have a nice wedding, it's nowhere near when we're going to have it now. But at least now we can say we're engaged. So we got engaged. I bought the ring. I proposed to her that night. She said yes. Done. Simple. No hoopla. We didn't publicly announce it at all because we knew that if we did, there would be trolls and haters and shitheads and douchebags and assholes who were just going to try to ruin it for us. And we said, you know what? Already we've kept our relationship private and off the internet. And so let's just keep this for ourselves. There's absolutely no reason why we need to reveal this to anyone. It doesn't mean anything to any of my stream viewing audience anyway. It doesn't change our relationship. Kat wasn't magically going to start showing up on my streams because we're engaged or whatever. So why would we reveal it? So we didn't. We kept it to ourselves, and it was tough. I'll be very honest with all of you. It was tough because, especially those first few weeks, you know, Kat's my fiance, and I'm coming on stream and saying girlfriend. Whenever I bring her up, I have to say girlfriend. And there's a few times I almost said fiance. I was so, like, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I almost said it, and at the last minute I caught myself. But then whenever we were outside the house, you know, we go out and we're with, you know, Kat and her friends, and we're talking, you know, we go out maybe once in a while to a dinner and a waitress or whatever, and she's my fiance. And it was tough to be saying two different things and not have them cross over and be screwed up. Okay. Did I bend the knee? Yes, I did. I bent the knee. Absolutely. Got down on my knee and proposed to her. So that was last fall. This already had been in place and was already done. Now, we, at that point, had zero plans to get married. We wanted to, but we knew we had no money for it. We knew back then the hopeful thought was that things were going to turn around, that things on YouTube were going to get good for the end of the year. Remember all the shit that was going on during that time period. That was when DSP Gaming had been demonetized for about a month, then got ads back, and that was when we had King Tut came out of nowhere and was basically gifting me a ridiculous amount of contributions on streams. So I had all these funds coming in out of nowhere. Oh, what the fuck is this? Who is this guy, right? Who knows how long this is going to last or whatever? No one knows anything. And we're like, even though things were looking good, I was like, wow, now the fall and the hardcore gaming season's coming. Typically, I make more money on YouTube during those months. We weren't going to be stupid and say, let's plan a wedding and drop money on a wedding and then not know what happens. Plus, again, I didn't know what was going to happen with taxes and everything coming forward. So we basically just said we're going to leave it in limbo. We're just going to have it be we're engaged. By the way, I had no engagement ring. I did not. Sometimes the man, I guess, does get an engagement ring. I think. But I had nothing. You know, we couldn't afford it. It was just we got this one ring for ultra discount. And after that was just she had a nice engagement ring, and that's it. Until we have another ability to plan out anything, we're leaving it at that. Okay. So now time's passing, and my parents nearing the end of last year, 2018, are telling me, listen, we're in poor health, and we don't know what's going to happen with our health. It's a situation where it's day to day. Any day, one of us could even go or could wait. You know, the doctors don't even know. So we want you to come out here. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I can't. My finances, there's no way. I don't have the credit to pay for it. So that was the time frame. It was about fall. When I had gotten engaged to Kat, and I told them, it was like fall to near the end of the year. And they said, we want you out here no matter what. Now you have a fiance. We want to meet her and all that. So that's when those discussions started. Was about, I'd say, late, fall into early winter of 2019 is when those discussions started. And ultimately, when I started talking to my parents about it, I was like, well, looking at the gaming schedule, for 2019, for my work schedule, it's looking like the months of January, February, and March are going to have some good stuff in them. Now, incidentally, of course, we all know how that went. January was pretty good. February was like a big, stinky, gaping hole of crap. And March was okay. There certainly wasn't. We thought some games were going to be much better than they ended up being, but really it wasn't until Sekiro came out that there was much to really talk about. But anyway, figuring it all out, figuring out my work schedule and everything, basically said it looks to me like the first real opening that we'll have where I could be away for a week and it wouldn't jeopardize anything in regards to my work would be sometime in April. First, second, third week, at that point, Mortal Kombat 11's release date hadn't been announced yet or anything. So I said probably first, second, or third week of April. Plus, that's good because the weather will start to turn better. So there's no chance of like, oh God, a freak snowstorm fucking comes through and we're there now, our plane's canceled. And because it'll be a little bit warmer, that opens up more possibilities of things that Kat and I can do while we're there, like going to the zoo or doing outdoor stuff versus having to be indoors the whole time because it's raining or cold or whatever, right? So, all that, started happening, the discussions. And ultimately what ended up happening was my parents said, all right, it's going to be, April. My dad made arrangements at his work that it would be everything that he needed to be done would be done by like early April or, those weeks. Any of those weeks could work. Okay. So all that's going down. And then one day, I call my parents every weekend, usually. It's a different day every week. Today, incidentally, probably later today, I'm calling my mom. But once a week, I call my parents to talk to them to get caught up with how they're doing and how I'm doing. I tell them how I'm doing, how Kat's doing and everything. And so one week I called them, and I have no idea how the topic came up. But basically, my parents said to me, are you guys actually going to get married now? You've been engaged for months, and are you considering really, tying the knot? I said, I would love to do it now. But, the only thing we could do for ourselves, because we have no money, would basically be to go down to City Hall, where we live, to a Justice of the Peace. And by the way, just so everyone knows, since there's such stupidity and just total ignorance and conspiracy theories around getting married, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain to you how it works in the United States, because a lot of people seem to have many misconceptions about this practice. Okay, so let's go ahead, and let's go ahead and talk about those. Fair enough. Phew. So, to get married, there's a few things you need to do. The first thing you need to do is you need to contact the state that you're going to get married in. You have to contact the city hall of the city or town you're going to get married in. And you need to tell them, I am from this place. I want to get married in your city. And I want to do it through a Justice of the Peace. It's not going to be like a formal ceremony through a church or whatever. Because if you're going to do a church, then you got to do even more complicated stuff, contacting a priest or whatever. And the bottom line is neither Kat or I cared about that. Although I'm sure my mom, who raised me Roman Catholic, would have loved that we got married in a Roman Catholic church. I didn't care about that, and we just didn't care about it, and we weren't going to do that, okay? So, at a minimum, what you need to do to get married is get a marriage license from the city or town you're going to get married in. And what you need to do is provide them with tons of information, like your name and address, the names of both your parents, and where they're from, your education level, all kinds of shit. You got to give them all this information, okay? And then you have to provide proof of who you are. If you just have a driver's license, a lot of states will accept that. Some states are more picky, and they actually want a birth certificate copy or even your social security card. It all depends. Every state's different. It just so happens the state of Connecticut isn't very picky. But basically what we were going to do, Kat and I eventually, we were just going to go down right here to our downtown City Hall, give them the information, get a marriage license, pay a Justice of the Peace. But I believe you could do it for free, but the way it's expected that if a Justice of the Peace is going to marry you, that you give them some kind of a tip. You know what I mean? They don't have to charge for it. Excuse me. They don't have to charge for it. But that being said, they expect something for it. It's a nice gesture. Oh, you married us. Here's a little something for your troubles. Okay. So a marriage license costs about $50. FYI, in America, it's about $50. The Justice of the Peace, you give whatever. You can give them a $5, or you can give them, a lot. It all depends on how you know them or what kind of some Justice of the Peace, they go all out. They have a big ceremony they plan. They have the things that they have you repeat, and they do very elaborate things. And others will just do whatever the hell you tell them. They'll show up. Okay, you're married. You're done. It's just like that. So it's quick. It's a very quick thing to just get married. That's what we were planning on doing. Eventually, one day, we would just go down to our city hall. $50. Here's your marriage license. Justice of the Peace. You're now married. Stamp the paper. You're done. That's what we were going to do. And my parents said, well, you're planning on coming out here, in April to visit us. Already. So for full transparency, everyone, everything I've told you about this trip is 100% true. My parents are paying for the whole thing. They paid for the flight. They paid for all accommodations, transportation. They even gave us money to spend when we were there, because we told them we have no money when we're there to spend on anything, to go out to a dinner. We don't have money for gas for this car. We just don't. We have no money for anything. My parents said, taken care of. We're going to cover everything. And they did. So the whole trip was already covered. All right. Already every facet of the trip was being paid for by my parents, which obviously is an insanely nice gesture that not only do we get to spend time in Connecticut away from work, but they're going to cover the cost of absolutely everything. So I'm not racking up my own personal debts or whatever. Right. Okay. So, all that being said, they said, while you're out here, why don't you get married? And, for Kat and I, it's a tough thing to decide, because we knew that whatever we were going to do for ourselves was just going to be very private. Like, Kat has a couple friends at work she probably would have invited if we had gotten married out here. I don't have anyone that I would have invited if we got married out here. People who I know are my relatives back in Connecticut who would want to come to the wedding. So, and they're not going to fly out here to Seattle just for us to get married at Justice of the Peace. It's not worth it. So, I was like, all right, so pros and cons. The pros would be, at the very least, we'd be getting married somewhere where I know my parents can be there. I know my parents may go at any day, and so they'll be able to see me get married in person, which would be amazing, obviously. Maybe because we're already going to be there on this kind of all expenses paid trip, it would mean that we'd have a little bit of extra celebration to it, even though, listen, also another thing you guys need to know, my parents aren't made of money. They're not rich by any means. It's just that this is such a big event for them that they wanted us to come out and whatever, that they were willing to incur that debt because it was so important to them to spend time with me and Kat. And now, of course, we're going to get married. It just adds more icing to the cake and for them. So, that was the pros. Okay, I'll be able to do it with at least with my parents, and we may have a little bit of an actual ceremony or something, a venue, versus doing it just at a city hall here in Seattle. Okay, so Kat and I talked about it for a while, and after talking about it for a little bit, we were starting to actually get a little bit excited and saying, it might be nice. That would be something cool. That when we're out there, we could be married, and it will be a situation where we will have memories of this trip. Not just a trip to see my parents, but a trip where this is like a momentous, life-changing, positive thing that can happen while we're out there, okay? Now, this is before we started planning any of it. Immediately, what's the first thing that hits our head? Oh, God, well, what are we going to do? Because we have no money for a dress, for rings, for that kind of... We just don't have it, We don't have that kind of stuff. And on top of that, we knew that taxes were going to be coming up. I had not raised a single dollar, really, for taxes. And on top of all of that, if you guys remember the end of 2018, it went very poorly for me. I got very sick during Christmas week, when traditionally I have some of my biggest, most successful streams of the year. People come out and say Merry Christmas, and they contribute during those streams, and I do special holiday events. I ended up getting sick during that week, and a lot of the funds that I rely on that come in near the end of the year to help pay for taxes and stuff didn't exist. They just didn't exist. They never happened. So sadly, what happened was this is about, I'd say, 2 months ahead. So this is probably February. Yeah, about February. Kat and I sat down. We're like, we would love to get married, but how are we going to do this? And so what we had to do was basically try to find a way to afford doing a marriage. And so we basically cut every corner possible. Every fucking corner possible. My suit that I wore is the same suit I've owned for 10 years and worn once. I bought that suit when I still had my office job and I was doing YouTube as a hobby. My friend at the time, who was a former friend who I used to play Street Fighter with back in the day, got married, and I bought that suit to go to his wedding. So that was a situation where I had a suit that, actually in reality, that suit would not have fit me if I hadn't lost weight in the last year. because that suit was back when I was super skinny, and then I gained more weight again. So because I had lost the weight, that suit fit. So I was lucky because I didn't have money for a suit. And that suit was in the closet. I kept it with me during my move across the country and was just sitting there, only worn once. And I put it on. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like the stars are aligning. The suit fucking fits. It was amazing. I was like, holy shit. This is crazy. You know, Kat went and went out with her friends and looked for a dress and found an incredibly cheap dress. Not at a fucking bridal boutique for thousands of dollars. I'm to understand it. She wouldn't tell me. Because, by the way, just like it's the tradition, the groom is not supposed to see the dress until the wedding day. I never saw it. I didn't know anything about, exactly where she got it. She never, but she apparently got it, like, really cheap. Definitely under $100. Okay? As for the rings, that was something that we knew we were going to have to spend a little bit of money on. And what I mean by rings, not the engagement ring that she got, but our wedding bands. This is my wedding band, and then I got a wedding band, we got a wedding band for her that matched her engagement ring, so it kind of fit in together. Because her engagement ring is actually, unlike a normal engagement ring, usually it's like a square cut. Hers was like a diamond design. So because of that, we had to get a wedding band that would match up with it, and it was a little hard to find one. But basically, we ended up getting rings, and my parents helped with it. I told them the situation, and they ended up helping out with it. So that it wasn't, oh God, we're dropping hundreds of dollars out of our pockets. So all being said, all I had to get for the wedding was a belt and a pair of shoes and a tie. Okay? And all Kat really had to get was a pair of the dress which she got, and a pair of shoes and a veil. And that was it. And we got everything on cheap, on discount. I mean, all in all, wrapped up, we probably spent under $200 for all the accessories and things that we needed for this wedding. No lie. Everything else was taken care of by my parents, okay? So, that was all the preparation that we did for this. So, what ended up happening was, now that we basically had figured out it is feasible, it's actually feasible to do this, my parents and I began planning, how are we going to do it? And we started talking about, well, if we get married, what venue? Well, my parents were like, we're not going to do a venue. We don't have money for that. We can't go rent a fucking hall. We can't rent anywhere. We'll do it at the house. Do it in my parents' house. My parents' house is nice. It's hilarious because my parents still live at the house that I lived at with them my whole life until I moved out and got the condo, in 2009. And that's where I did all my YouTube videos. That house is in a bad neighborhood. I'm not exaggerating. The neighborhood is not a good neighborhood. The home values have tanked in that area, but they put money to renovate their yard and the house. The house is nice on the inside. I was like, Mom, do you realize you're the only house in this whole neighborhood that looks like this on the inside? Do you really think any of your neighbors here put money into their homes like this? Like, your house is so nice, but you basically wasted your money. You should have moved somewhere nicer. But my mom is set in her ways. She doesn't listen to me. She just wanted to live there. So we basically said, we're just going to do it in a house. Okay? And we did. That's what we were planning. We're just going to do it in a house. No venue. Okay? Who's coming to this thing? Well, being that it's in Connecticut, it's immediately out to any of Kat's friends or whatever. They're not going to fly across the country for this thing. It was very, very close-knit. It was basically my parents, a few of my old-time family members who I haven't seen in 100 years, which I'm not going to tell you who they are because that would reveal personal information that you guys don't need to know, and I don't want anyone at risk, And there were some other guests, and basically, I think all in all, there were like 10 people total, including us, at this thing, okay? And that's the most I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you who it was or whatever because, again, I don't want to put people at risk, and it's not fair to them. I would love to tell you the ins and outs of everyone who attended this thing. I can't do it because, sadly, the idiots will hunt down the people and harass them. I'm not going to fucking do it, okay? So there was basically a very, 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 very small group of attendees for a wedding. And that's what it was going to be. It's basically just going to be one day of our visit, okay, we'll go to my parents' house, get dressed up, get married in their house with a justice of the peace, and then go out to a dinner. Where do we go to dinner? Well, my idea was there's a really good Italian restaurant near my parents' house. It's not what you guys are thinking. I've talked about Vinny's Pizza a lot. Not that restaurant. It's a different Italian restaurant really near my parents' house that if you look at this place from the street, you'd think that it's like a rat hole. You're like, what the hell is that? When you walk inside, I'm not even kidding you, it's gorgeous. It's like walking into fucking Italy. They've decorated the place gorgeously. The food is completely authentic Italian food, and they do special things for parties and stuff like this. Okay? And no, it's not it's not Olive Garden, it's not a chain, it's a local place. Not right next door to my parents, but a little bit away, but it's a nice place. And I said, I think that would be perfect, because no one will get lost. It's close to your house. We can just go right over there, have a nice family dinner after we're married, a celebration or whatever. And that would be a perfect end of the night. We don't need anything fancy. We don't need dancing. We don't need music. We don't need crazy receptions. We don't need a venue. It could just be get married at the house, drive down, drive a little bit, have a nice dinner, done. And, that's what it was. Now, I'm going to give you all the details, because there's a lot of details I want to tell you about the day. My God, the food and everything went so nicely. And I definitely got to outline that stuff for you guys, because it was such a nice day. I'm going to remember it for the rest of my life. I'm so happy. But that's basically the whole plan. You know what I mean? It was a very chill day, okay? And it's funny because I'll tell you, as we got closer to the trip and everything, more and more stuff happened that made this sound like it was going to be better. Okay, but anyway, so that's what we planned. But when we planned all this out, we well knew that number one, I was going to have to break it to you guys that I was going to Connecticut. And I think I did, if I remember correctly, I kept telling you, it'll be like early April, I don't know yet. And then finally, it was about mid to late March when I finally told you guys the week in April that I was going. Oh, I knew the week I was going for like 2 months. But I figured by leaving it as kind of an ambiguous thing, it wouldn't allow people to pre-plan fucked up stuff. You know what I mean? Even though I knew you guys eventually were going to have to know when I wasn't going to be here, the longer I waited to give you the details, the less chance there was of putting things at risk. Now, before we get into that, some of you who might not know my long history, might not have been longtime viewers and followers of mine, may say, what are you talking about? Like, what kind of stuff are you talking about? Because what could they have done? Just to give you guys some fucking perspective, all right? Over the years that I've been a content creator, in particular, I'd say about 3-4 years ago, people just have gone nuts with the shit they've done. They've called my relatives. They've called former businesses that I worked for. They've called the schools that I went to school to. They've called news agencies. They've called restaurants. They've called all these places and harassed the fuck out of people, my relatives, or said stuff about me or done shit. They've actually contacted former businesses that I had associations with to say nasty stuff about me. They have signed me up for endless amounts of stuff that I never agreed to, that I then had to try to get out of, just because they know basic information about me, like my name and address and phone number. I constantly get pranked with tons of nasty shit here at my house, whether it's, stupid stuff. I'm not even going to get it, I don't even want to get into the details of it because it's going to give people more ideas to do it, okay? The insane amount of junk mail that I receive on a daily basis, if I don't empty out my mailbox out here, that mailbox is full. So every day, that's how much mail I get. I have to empty my mailbox. If I go 2 days, the mailman can't leave mail because they've signed me up for so many garbage publications and solicitations that I have to empty my mailbox every day. Okay? I've been swatted. That, to the point where when I first moved here, I notified my local police department, I'm a streamer. There's a chance that I may get swatted. And I was swatted. But not only that, other people, people who I never talked about have been swatted. And behind the scenes of stuff, family members of mine were swatted. For no reason. Because I never even publicly talked about it. So, that's why I'm not going to give attention to it. But they were swatted, and they have nothing to do with me. Because of me. Because they're related to me. They were swatted. And I knew that if I gave any information that, number one, I was getting married, or number two, the specifics of where I was going to be on what day, that there was potential that people could do this fucking stuff to me, right? Can you imagine? Oh, yeah, today we're going to the zoo. And then we go to the zoo and the police show up because someone swatted the zoo. You know what I mean? Like, that was a genuine... For anyone else on the planet Earth, that's like silly. That's ridiculous. That's silly, Phil. For me, that's actually a genuine concern. What if I say, we're getting married on Wednesday, and they swat my parents' house during the marriage? Right? I have elderly relatives that could die, have a heart attack. You know, I can't do this shit. It's so fucked up how fucked up my fucking life is because of these fucking degenerates and the shit that they've done to me over the years. So this is a genuine fucking concern. Some people think it's funny. It's not. It's not funny. This is not funny. And this is not a joke. This is not me over-exaggerating. This is a serious concern that, like, so one of my relatives could get fucking killed, or, you know what I mean? Because of some shithead piece of immoral garbage, a morally decrepit, toxic turd that draws breath and sucks the air off the planet where other valid fucking morally, good people want to live. This person could actually hurt me like this. Okay? So, I had to go through incredible hoops to basically make sure that you guys didn't know where I was on certain days and didn't know that I was getting married. In fact, I'm going to be very honest with all of you. You know those pictures that I posted up on Instagram? Those weren't posted up in order. I scattered them in a random order so that you would think that I was somewhere on a certain day when I wasn't. Because I knew that if I had posted up on the day that I was doing those things, that people would try to fuck with me. In fact, it was only that week before I went on this trip that people were actually saying to me, Phil, are you going to go eat at Vinny's Pizza that first night that you're there? And I'm thinking, there it is. These are people who are actually trying to get information about where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do to get me in trouble. I mean, who was it? Was it Ice Poseidon that went to an airport and was live streaming from the airport on Twitch? And basically they swatted him because of that, and that got him banned from Twitch permanently. You can't put this shit past these people. You can't. Okay? So I had to take incredible precautions to make sure that no one knew anything about where I was. Okay? And it worked. And it was very difficult and stressful, and it was very tough to do this. All right? But it paid off, because during this trip, I don't think a single person recognized me. I don't think a single person fucked with us. And everything ended up going smoothly because of all the crazy amounts of work and precautions that I took into place. Okay? Now, before I even get into the trip description and everything going down, we had everything in place. My parents had bought plane tickets, had gotten accommodations and transportation and everything that we needed in place for us. We, on our end, had gotten, I had my suit, Kat had found the inexpensive dress, we'd gotten the wedding bands inexpensively, and we got our little accessories that we needed and all of that. And we were good to go. We were basically good to go for this trip. But sadly, what ended up happening was, as you guys know, because I basically didn't make a lot of money at the end of 2018 like I usually do, I had $0. Seriously, like $0, except for the Emerald 7 funds that were going to be coming through to put towards taxes this year. And I was incredibly nervous about all of this. I didn't know how the things were going to go. And I'll be very transparent with all of you here. The Emerald 7 money, everyone wants to know, Emerald 7, who gifted all those subs, where did that money go? How much did it end up being? I can't tell you how much it ended up being. But what I can tell you is that money went towards paying my bills. It went towards paying the state taxes for the year, because the state taxes now I pay my yearly business taxes, because I'm a registered business in the state of Washington. I'm actually doing my taxes properly now, unlike I was doing for 3 years wrong, because my old tax guy was a fucking asshole and didn't do them right, and I ended up getting into years and years of back tax problems. Okay, this year I paid them correctly. So the Emerald 7 money went to just pay basic bills, and it went towards that money. It went towards paying my tax guy for doing stuff with the state taxes. Going to be very transparent with all of you here. I have not talked about this much this year. YouTube is incredibly terrible this year. In 2019, so to give you some perspective, all of 2018, I was making a certain amount of money on YouTube every month. I'm now making about 40%. I guess would be about 40% of what I was making every month on YouTube last year, I'm now making this year. So all of a sudden, January hit, I was making this much money. I'm now making this much money on YouTube every month. I'm like, the fuck? What happened? And inexplicable, because I'm getting the same views. it appears I'm getting the same number of advertisements on my videos, my revenue just went like this, and no one can explain it. I've asked YouTube specifically, and they say, oh, well, no, revenue's not guaranteed, ad revenue variates, blah, 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 blah. You know, the fucking stupid bullshit that they always say. They fucked up. YouTube fucked up again. You remember earlier this year, YouTube came out with this story saying, the news came out with this story. YouTube lost another slew of advertisers. I forget who it was this time. It was like, I don't even know if it was Walmart or where. They lost another slew of advertisers. So again, all of us who work hard to put out videos on YouTube make less money because they fucked up. Not because we did anything wrong, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So my money that I usually make to pay bills was dramatically reduced. So Emerald 7's funds that I was hoping was mostly going to go towards federal taxes was greatly depleted just paying fucking bills for the first 3 months of 2019 because I was making thousands of dollars less a month, okay? So come this trip coming up, all right, which we had already predetermined, we had already had planned and everything, I basically talked to my tax guy. I told my tax guy the amount of money that I did have to put towards the taxes, okay? And he gave me a quote. He basically said, you know, roughly $5,000. If you can raise roughly $5,000 to put towards the back taxes that you owe, which in total, I believe, were around $17,000. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I don't remember the exact number. If you could put like $5,000 towards that, that's enough for the IRS to say, okay, that's a show of confidence that Phil is really trying to pay the taxes he didn't pay over the year. We'll now get Phil on a payment plan so he can pay these taxes over a course of maybe 2-3 years. Not that, oh, you didn't pay them all immediately. You get interest and fees, and you're fucked 5 ways from Sunday because you didn't pay your federal taxes this year. Okay? So, I basically had to raise $5,000. I couldn't raise $5,000. You know, where am I going to get $5,000 from? I know where to get it from. All the money that I have is now accounted for going towards these things. None of the money was going towards the wedding. Like none. Literally, I wasn't paying for anything involved in the wedding. It all was pre-done by my parents, and still I didn't have enough money to pay these federal taxes, which is why I had the idea, I guess I'm going to have to do these marathon events, and hopefully people will come out and be supportive, and I can raise as much as I possibly can out of the $5,000 and go from there, okay? And I did. I did 2 different marathon events, all right, that raised, in total, if you actually look at the amount of tips that I raised that can go towards these taxes, was around, I think, I want to say just under $2,500, but also what people need to understand, which they don't, is that normally I raise tips, and normally tips go to paying bills. So even though I raised $2,500, a chunk of that had to just go to pay my monthly stuff normally. And so even though I raised $2,500, in reality, it was probably under $2,000 that I had left over afterwards to put towards the federal taxes. So by the time that all these events had gone down, and it was basically the last day, April 6th, I had raised, in essence, enough to pay, I think I was like, I want to say, I was $4,000 short of making the goal that my tax guy said, this is the amount you need to pay the government to qualify for the payment plan. All right. And at that point I was like, well, I've raised what I've raised, you know, there's nothing else I could do about it. You can only beat the dead horse enough, you know, until it turns into paste, and there's nothing else I could do. So what I was going to do, was go on this trip and basically enjoy it for as much as I could, try to keep the tax issues completely out of my mind. I knew that a wedding was going to be beautiful and was going to be very nice and was going to end up basically being something that was going to be a life-changing event that I would remember forever. And I said, you know what? I will come home when this is all done. I'll contact my tax guy again. I'll say, I failed in raising what you said I needed. I have this. I'll put this towards the taxes. What's the next step? Does it mean that the government now will say you owe a ton of interest and fees because you didn't pay it all and you didn't qualify for the payment plan? You know, what's the next steps? And the bottom line is I didn't know what the answer was going to be because I wouldn't have even known what to raise. So I did. I actually got all that information, sent it to my tax guy before I had left on this trip. And that was that. And that was it. You know, that was where I had left it a week ago. Saturday was April 6th, which was my birthday. I did my final streams of Apex Legends, and I was gonna do a stream of Sekiro. I was so tired from the marathon the day before, and then I realized, oh my god, I've got all this shit I need to do to prepare for this trip. I can't, I have to pack everything. I can't do a second stream. So I canceled the second stream that day, April 6th, which was my birthday. So basically, I was nervous as shit. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was deadly nervous that during this trip, I was going to get a word back from my tax guy, and he was going to be like, Phil, you're screwed. What they're going to do is hit you with back fees and penalties, and if you just tell them you can't pay anymore, they're going to put a lien on your house, or they're going to just keep accruing to the point where eventually they're going to screw you over. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen at all. All right. It was a completely uncertain, crazy week that I knew it was going to be fun. It was going to be a great trip to Connecticut to see my parents. I was going to get married, but I didn't know what the hell I was going to be coming back to on the tail end of it. I had no clue. Okay? We're going to take a break, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some shout outs. We're going to take a break and come back, and then I'm going to talk about my actual trip, which I haven't even spoken a word of yet. This is all the build up to the trip. Okay? Excuse me. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do some shout outs. Okay, so we start with Mark Murphy, who tipped me $20. He says, congratulations to you and Kat. Completely understandable why you had to keep all this a secret. Glad it went well. The very best to you going forward. If I missed it, can you tell me how you proposed? It's like I said, it was so impromptu. Like, we went to a store, saw a ring. Holy shit, that's the price. That's insanely low for what that ring is. Let's just do it. Bought the ring, came home, down on one knee, boop, done. It was just, just like that. It wasn't anything elaborate or planned. It was just boop, because all of a sudden we could afford it. Boop, done. Condo from Connecticut, tipped me $5. Says, I'm a man and I love you. Can you be in a polygamous marriage? No. King of Golf cheered, and he says, Derek Loves Lemur says, that's great you had people take over the house when you were in Connecticut with Kat. John says, this is a really cherishing and heartwarming moment. I appreciate you telling your fans about this. Silent General did a 100-bit cheer. Thank you, Silent General. I got a $1 tip from someone who says something about getting unbanned. I don't even know what it means. Thank you. Ben Boxer cheers. He says, Blood Diamonds, Phil. I don't want to talk about that. No, hopefully we didn't purchase Blood Diamonds. User gave 14K. Has resub for 17 months. Says, congrats, Phil. DSMT tipped me $5. Says, don't you realize that acoustic foam is a fire hazard? I remember that was part of the reason why the station nightclub fire happened in 2003. Well, if I didn't have the acoustic foam, this office would sound echoey as shit and terrible. This foam has been up for about 4 years and I haven't had a single issue with it. I don't think we're going to have a problem since I'm home literally almost every single day all day. But thanks for the concern and thanks for the tip. Ben Boxer did a 50-bit cheer. He said, married or not, Phil's the apple of my eye. Then we had a troll cheer that I ignore. Let's see here. Indeed Jabs tipped me $1. He says, you should have a reality show called Keeping Up with the Burnells. Joking, congrats. Still Stream 42 has subscribed to the channel for 10 months. Thank you very much. Wrathful Knight subscribed for 5 months in a row and says, hey, congrats on your wedding. Thank you, Wrathful Knight. OG Descent also subscribed for 2 months. King of Golf HD cheered. He says, people swat zoos. I mean, do I realistically think that people swat zoos all the time? No. But if they knew where I was, I wouldn't put it past them. I told you guys, they swatted people that have nothing to do with me just because they're related to me. So, yeah, they would have swatted the zoo. Lawler Mittens cheered. He says, I believe if you didn't want people to get mad, you should have been honest from the get-go. You said you were going to get married. Don't say where. Don't have to stay in which state. Say you're going to, because now people can't separate money you raised for the taxes and money that's spent for a wedding, and there's animosity stemming from it. That's their own problem. I'm telling you, the only things I spent money on in regards to this wedding were my belt, my tie, a pair of shoes. And Kat spent some money on her dress and the the veil and some shoes. And my parents helped us with the rings. And that was it. When we were there, I'll tell you, because we're not, again, I shouldn't have done this. I'm jumping the gun. The whole trip was paid for by my parents. I didn't spend $1 while I was there of my own money at all. Everything, I'll tell you everything. That's the next part of this show is going to be, I explained the whole trip to you. And everything that I raised previously for taxes is still going towards taxes. And I have a full update on taxes and everything that I'm going to explain to you in this show. So if people have issue with the fact that they can't wait to hear a situation's, explanation, that's their problem. And the bottom line is most people who have issue are just people who fucking already don't trust me. And I can't make those people trust me. Like I said, I could show you documents, I could show you our marriage license, I could show you receipts, I could show you the email from my tax guy. None of that matters, because everyone will say I made it up. So there's no point. Just being honest here. The Last Rambo cheered. He says, if I search for DSP MVC, I would get duplicate videos of yours posted by others that would not attract new viewers to your channel. Okay. You know what it is? I think what he's saying is, when I was gone, maybe he was trying to search for videos for mine on YouTube. What I told you, if you wanted to find videos of mine, Darkside Phil or DSP Gaming playthrough, and then the name of the game. I explained this to everyone before I left. That's the only way to find my stuff on YouTube, because I've always put playthrough in the titles of my videos on purpose to personalize them to me. If you just search in general, you're right, you'll get hater videos, because that's how YouTube works. It's a piece of shit. And Minori tipped me $5, says, do your parents have a caretaker or something like that? No, they don't. Although, I'll be honest, it may be getting there. Again, that explanation is coming, because I'm going to tell you about the whole trip, of what we did, what I discovered being there and everything, okay? Fair enough? So please be a little patient. King of Golf Cheers says, no matter how much people slander you and call you a liar, people like Ma and Anani, I think he meant to say me, will always be here until the end. All right. All right, guys, thank you. What we're going to do right now is take a break. If you're watching on YouTube, there's going to be a part 2. Definitely check that out. It's going to be the trip, me talking about the trip, okay? If you're watching on stream, it's going to be about, I don't know, let's take a 10-minute break, roughly. Not a long break, but a 10-minute break. I'll go get a drink or a snack or something. I finished my energy drink here, if I use the bathroom. And then we'll resume. And this is going to be step-by-step me talking about the trip and how it went, what we did every day, travel-wise. This is what people are interested in. Gee, well, Phil used to vlog, and I didn't vlog. I'm going to tell you about, piece by piece, in this show, okay? And this is going to answer a lot of questions. All right. All right, everyone. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks, everyone, so far for your support. Thanks. Last Rambo just did a 620-bit cheers. What was your favorite mobile phone? The first BlackBerry I ever had, I really liked, because that was before touchscreens. So the BlackBerry had a trackball to move around the screen like a mouse pointer, and it had a full keyboard. I had fat thumbs, so when I try to type something on my iPhone, I always fuck it up. I have to type it 10 times. When you had a full keyboard, you would click the buttons, and you knew you were typing the right thing. The problem is, they went out of business. So, it is what it is. All right, thank you, guys. Let's take a break. I'll be back with more, the trip explanation on the next part. Thanks.